The Sea Peoples are one of history's most mysterious and feared groups. Their name conjures up images of ruthless invaders from the sea, devastating ancient civilizations, razing cities, and ending the Bronze Age. But who were these enigmatic seafarers? Where did they come from? And how did they leave such a lasting mark on history? In this video, we'll dive deep into the mysterious Sea Peoples, exploring their origin, their unbelievable impact on the Mediterranean world, and how their invasions contributed to the collapse of the Bronze Age. Keep watching to follow along with the story of the Sea Peoples as they invaded civilizations and shattered the Bronze Age. Who were the Sea Peoples? Before diving into the chaos they wrought, it is necessary to understand who the Sea Peoples were. They have been described as mysterious warlike people from the seas armed with advanced naval technologies and ruthless tactics. They were a confederation of maritime raiders that struck terror into the hearts of ancient civilizations from approximately 1276 to 1176 BCE. Interestingly, this is also about the same time the mythical Battle of Troy would have occurred, although the two events are most likely unrelated. The societies they terrorized, such as Egypt, knew them by many names, typically often referring to specific tribes among the Sea Peoples, such as the Shurden or the Shekelesh. The name Sea Peoples is a modern term, coined by French Egyptologist Gaston Maspero in the late 19th century. Maspero named them based on ancient reports claiming their tribes came from the sea or from the islands, though the specific seas or islands were never identified. Their exact origins and nationality remain uncertain, but they appeared to be a coalition of various groups from around the Aegean, the Anatolian Peninsula, and other regions across the eastern Mediterranean. Some historians debate that they may have been Etruscan, Philistine, Mycenaean, or Minoan. Their nationality is not the only mystery they hold. Historians are still trying to figure out why they appeared in the first place and what drove them to take to the seas and cause so much destruction. Some historians speculate they were displaced populations, refugees from climate disasters, or groups seeking new lands due to a changing environment or resource depletion. One of the less popular theories is that they were mercenaries, hired to fight by one power only to turn against them when it suited their needs. Whatever their origin, their raids were devastating, and their ability to destabilize powerful empires made them key players in the collapse of the Bronze Age. One thing we do know about them, primarily from Egyptian records, is that they were skilled sailors with well-crafted vessels. Their boats, large, swift, and capable of extended voyages, were their key advantage. These vessels allowed the Sea Peoples to strike swiftly, navigate complex coastlines, and launch devastating raids on unsuspecting civilizations. How the Sea Peoples shattered the Bronze Age. Just decades before the Sea Peoples' devastating invasions, the Mediterranean and Near East were home to flourishing civilizations and an interconnected economy where cities depended on each other for raw materials and maintained a thriving trade network. It was a time of stability, wealth, and population growth. Yet, despite the seeming success of this age, it came tumbling down quickly. So, how did the Sea Peoples shatter the Bronze Age? They didn't. While the Sea Peoples played a significant role, claiming that they single-handedly shattered the Bronze Age is inaccurate. While they played a role, they would not likely have had nearly as substantial an effect without the domino effect of other factors. While they undeniably wreaked havoc on the region and added to the instability of the time, they were just one of the many factors in the perfect storm that led to the collapse of an era. However, their impact was incredible, especially considering the brevity of their activity. The key to the Sea Peoples' role in the collapse of the Bronze Age was their ability to disrupt trade routes, destabilize powerful kingdoms, and cause widespread destruction. At the time, the Mediterranean world was interconnected through complex trade networks, and the Sea Peoples' attacks on port cities targeted these vital economic lifelines. With major cities burning, populations fleeing, and resources depleted, the interconnected civilizations were thrown into disarray. Even cities that weren't attacked suffered economic losses due to the loss of trade. At the same time, the Sea Peoples capitalized on their empire's broader vulnerabilities. Climate change, droughts, and other environmental stressors had already weakened many of these civilizations, and the Sea Peoples' attacks dealt the final fatal blow. In the aftermath, many once prosperous civilizations collapsed or were severely weakened. The Hittites vanished from history. The Mycenaean Greeks disappeared into myth. In Egypt, though it survived, was forever changed. The Sea Peoples may have been the catalyst, but their actions brought about a much larger process of destruction and transformation across the region. The Bronze Age collapse, a perfect storm. Modern historians go even further. They believe that rather than being part of the cause, the Sea Peoples were a symptom of a much more significant domino effect. The Bronze Age collapse was the result of a perfect storm. Of course, a significant factor was the invasion of the Sea Peoples, who struck multiple civilizations almost simultaneously. Their raids were not isolated incidents. They were part of a broader pattern of upheaval, including invasions, economic collapse, social unrest, and environmental changes. Historians even believe that these environmental changes and economic collapse were the catalyst of the Sea Peoples' arrival, not the other way around. The leading theory for the Sea Peoples' emergence and the Bronze Age's subsequent collapse was a megadrought. This huge drought event lasted between 150 and 300 years and was the driest period of the Bronze Age. Civilizations such as Egypt and Babylon, built by mighty rivers like the Tigris and Euphrates, were spared the worst of the drought's effect. Other regions were not so lucky. The drought led to famine and desperate refugees searching for resources. In addition to one of the worst droughts and famines of the time, geologists have also discovered that between 1225 and 1175 BCE, around the same time that the Sea Peoples existed, a rapid-fire series of massive earthquakes, known as an earthquake storm, occurred. This may have led to even more climate refugees. Between the drought, famine, refugees, and earthquakes, the civilizations of the Bronze Age were likely beginning to weaken. As these great civilizations felt the effects of climate disaster, the Sea Peoples emerged, completing the perfect storm that led to the collapse of the Bronze Age. Even the interconnectedness that had made the Bronze Age kingdoms great was a factor in their demise. Once trade routes for tin and copper were disrupted and cities began to fall, a domino effect resulted in a widespread system collapse of economies. The short supply of copper and tin also led to a drop in demand for bronze and the rising popularity of iron. The result was the fall of major powers like the Hittites and the Mycenaeans, the weakening of Egypt, and the destabilization of the entire Mediterranean world. The Sea Peoples' invasions. Perhaps the most famous encounters with the Sea Peoples occurred in Egypt. However, their early attacks focused on the Hittites, an Indo-European people who lived in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. They were one of the first major civilizations. They bordered Egypt, often vying for control over the Mediterranean, and even battling with Egypt during the reign of Ramses II. Despite their prestige, they would have proved no match for the Sea Peoples. According to the few records left from this time, the Hittite capital of Hattusa was wiped out overnight. With the collapse of their capital city, the entire Hittite empire crumbled and collapsed. Despite their victory and the consequent downfall of an empire, the Sea Peoples did not stop there. With the Hittites fallen, the Sea Peoples had a relatively easy march through the Levant, which includes modern-day Israel, Jordan, Palestine, Lebanon, and Syria, to Egypt. The Egyptian pharaohs, notably Ramses III, faced waves of Sea Peoples attacks in the 12th century BCE. The Egyptians fought back fiercely, and the records of these battles, particularly from Ramses III's mortuary temple at Medinet Habu, give us a vivid picture of the struggle. The Sea Peoples are depicted as fierce, unconventional groups of warriors using every means of attack, from ships to land assaults, against Egypt's coastal cities. While Egypt eventually managed to repel these invaders, the toll was heavy, and Egypt's power was significantly diminished in the aftermath. The Sea Peoples did not stop there. They continued invading across Palestine, Syria, and Cyprus. In modern-day Syria, city-states like Ugarit were destroyed, while in Cyprus, the Sea Peoples obliterated settlements and destabilized trade networks. The result was widespread chaos and the collapse of once flourishing coastal cities. Their path of destruction continued until they seemingly disappeared from history after being defeated one last time by the Egyptians. Around 1175 BCE, they attempted to invade Egypt again, and Ramses III defended against them, destroying their ships and slaying or capturing their people. He defeated them and recorded his triumph in inscriptions in Medinet Habu. a temple complex he built on the west bank of the Nile River. However, it's unlikely that this defeat alone caused the Sea Peoples to disappear. While Ramses III did secure a firm victory against them, he did not entirely wipe them out, and historians still speculate on what happened to the Sea Peoples. The common consensus is that many settled in the lands they had raided after their defeat in Egypt. Some historians believe that many settled in ancient Canaan, today known as Palestine and Israel. Other groups within the Sea Peoples likely integrated into various Mediterranean societies. Some may have settled along the coastlines of Anatolia, Cyprus, or Syria, blending with the local populations and contributing to the new Iron Age civilizations that began to rise after the Bronze Age collapse. As for how they disappeared from history, the explanation may be straightforward. After finding new homes after the collapse of the Bronze Age, the Sea Peoples likely lost their distinct identity over time. As they settled into new homes, intermarried, and assimilated into different cultures, they ceased to exist as a unified group. Thus, the Sea Peoples did not simply vanish, although records of them did. They were absorbed into the changing new world they had helped create. While they were not around long, they left behind a legacy and an enigma that has outlasted them by thousands of years. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about the Sea Peoples and how they shattered the Bronze Age, check out our book, The Sea People, a captivating guide to the seafarers who invaded ancient Egypt, Eastern Anatolia, the Hittite Empire, Palestine, Syria, and Cyprus, along with the late Bronze Age collapse. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.